ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And of course, you are still with us at our ASEAN Daily. And because of that, I just want to know are you okay this morning, Gowri?
Yes, I'm okay. Hi, good morning.
Because it's such an early morning, and of course, both of us have our early morning coffee. But yeah, I'm still at a sleepy mode here.
Yeah, I guess Nescafe is kind of helping, but we need more of a kick.
Yeah.
Maybe literally like a kick to wake us up.
I can, it's a pleasure for me to do it if you want me to kick you.
Yeah, sure. Just kick me right under the table.
So anyway, to kickstart our news today, we are going to bring you something from Malaysia. I think probably every single person in Malaysia would have known this news. It's about this one kid. He is considered a math genius. He went to one of the prestigious school in the UK, but unfortunately, he's a pedophile. He possessed and also he made quite a number of child porn.
And he had over 30,000 pornographic images and a lot of videos of children as well. And apparently, all the materials found in his possession were the worst kind of child porn that you can possibly find. The most extreme.
Quote unquote by the police. So to me, this is news because I think this is the first time ever a Malaysian ever been caught doing such thing in overseas, and the fact that it's child porn, which is a topic that we seldom really talk about in Malaysia, but most often happen. I think a few years back, a few kids went missing. Either they were raped or they were molested, and it's somehow connected to. I don't know whether it's a Malaysian culture or it's just but I do believe there are a percentage of people who have a tendency towards kids rather than adults when it comes to their sexual preference.
I think you're right there when you said that it's something that we rarely talk about in Malaysia, which is also why this became such a big deal, because it's not something that we hear about, or maybe it's not something that we also want to admit, because Malaysia is still fairly a conservative country, and when it comes to issues like pedophilia, it's not something that we want to admit as well. Like, okay, yes, this exists and we need to give this guy the proper treatment or send him in for some consultation, because the biggest issue right now is, should he get a second chance? And so many people are angry that Mara wants to resume his loan and let him study overseas. But
actually study locally
study
in any
locally.
Mara institution,
Okay.
because he's not able to do so overseas because of the history itself.
And even then, so many people are angry, and we were also discussing this a bit earlier on whether or not he should be given a second chance. And
would you want your sisters or I don't know, any of your nephew and nieces be close to this guy? Let's say any of them get the opportunity to study in Mara as well.
I really think that this is more to do with the individuality, because whether you get influenced or you don't, everyone is somehow. Of course, I'm not defending him here, but everyone has an addiction to something.
But that's the thing. It is not an addiction. It's not like you sniff drugs or glue where you can somehow go into a rehab facility and then be a better person. But in the case of pedophilia, is a sexual preference. Like, I mean, for example, our sexual preference is, the opposite sex, and some people, they might like the same sex, the same gender. But for pedophile, they have a certain tendency towards kids, and I don't know whether it's correctable or not. But personally, being a science person, I don't think you can correct someone's sexual preference. Can you?
I
We have to have a. We
I
have to
still
ask a
look at
second.
it as an addiction because there are a lot of people who are addicted to porn,
Mhm.
and in this case, he's addicted to child porn, which is of course
Probably the
probably the
whole-
most extreme. Or I wouldn't go so far as to call him sick because he probably is having some issues, and this is his way of dealing with it. So I think the right way to look at this is what can be done to help him, or how can we solve this problem? What kind of treatment or consultation that can be given to him?
To me personally, the action is wrong. I mean, he shouldn't possess or even make any child porn. I don't just because he have that sexual tendency doesn't mean he should act it out. You know, I mean, he can. To me, he should definitely be separated from the rest of the community because it's quite dangerous for him to be close to kids. The reason why I say this because I was watching this one documentary about places for pedophile, and the interesting part of it, even they themselves, some of the pedophile in the documentary, even they themselves admit that they shouldn't be integrated in the society because some of them might have tendency to do so and they can't control themselves.
So that is something that really has to be addressed, probably from the medical point of view, and not so much about judging him and saying that this is sick and this is dumb.
It's like, you know, trying to correct a person who is of LGBT, saying that, oh, you must be a straight person, but they just can't because that's their nature. I mean, we all have our own nature, I would say. Maybe I guess I definitely think that what he did was wrong, but maybe I'm just being scientific about the way he is suffering.
There are a few ways to look at this as well, and of course a lot of people are angry about this, and they have the right to be because it involves children in the most extreme way, which we wouldn't want that to happen, whether it was in the UK or in Malaysia. But the fact is that when there is a problem, we have to come up with a way to address it and not just be angry about it and start calling him names and labeling him.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Anyway, a long introduction from Malaysia.
Well, it is a pressing issue now.
It is. I think we seldom really talk about pedophilia.
And people need to start admitting that things like this happen, and it exists in this country. It exists in any other country, as conservative
and
as
I don't think they
be.
should be treated as criminals. I think they should definitely be treated it should definitely be treated as a mental illness. I think he should continue his studies being a genius, but I don't think he should be around kids. That means a no for an academician job. Probably he can, do his math alone in an institution
under supervision.
Under supervision. Anyway, the next news is a bit heavier. It's about the US. They are actually voicing out their concern to Myanmar party hate on race and religious bill. It's really interesting that Myanmar is more and more becoming similar to Malaysia, but I guess in a more extreme version.
How is that?
I think maybe because the racial composition is almost the same. They are as diverse as Malaysia, and they might not. In a way that their majority population might be discriminating towards the minority population, but unfortunately, their minority are the Muslims.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this is also, we all know that Myanmar is trying to go for a reform and trying to go towards democracy, but of course there are also so many analysis that has come out and say that the time given was too short. They probably had like 1 year to prepare, and the election is coming up end of this year, in October or November, I think.
I think in November, maybe.
And everyone is saying that the time given is too short, and you cannot have a reform within a few months, which is totally understandable considering the amount of things that they have to amend, the amount of things that they have to sort of revamp to go for the reform that they are looking for. And of course, the biggest issue ever when you talk about Myanmar is the human rights issue that they are facing with the Rohingyas, which is also what the US are mainly concerned about in this context.
Political reforms has never been easy. I think it takes more than just I guess it takes more than just a year for a country to reform itself. So I do agree with the US when it comes to constitutional reform, when it comes to elections. I don't think they are ready yet, but it's still a great step ahead for Myanmar government to somehow reform itself. But I doubt that they would do it wholeheartedly, especially with the recent crackdown on, not really crackdown, but the recent halt towards the students' disagreement on the government's move to have the national education law, and a few other areas where they have some minority some ethnic conflict happening, especially in Kokang area, that the government was not able to somehow address it effectively. So they're still a long way ahead.
And like you were saying as well, they have so many different, hundreds of different ethnic groups, and if you look at certain countries, even with 2 or 3 different ethnic groups, it's so hard for people to get along, and here we're talking about hundreds of different people, and of course we have the Rohingyas who
that is the elephant in the room, perhaps.
Who are supposed to get some sort of a citizenship or just some sort of an acknowledgement from the Myanmar government, which still hasn't happened, and the US is calling for some immediate resolution on that matter. And another thing that they wanted to bring up was also an independent probe into the force to break up anti-government protests this year. I think this also goes back to what you were saying about the student rally, that it's tricky when it comes to rally. It also happens in Malaysia. We kind of know how it works, and there's always some chaos that happens, and the police will always say that they were forced to retaliate, or they were forced to control the crowd, but there's always some force being used, and I think if you want to head towards democracy, that's not the way to do it.
That's not the way to do it. But I think for a healthy democracy, you do need rallies. You need that's one of the ways that the government can know that the people are not happy. I guess I'm pro rally in this case, but I guess not all rallies are the same. Some are just rallies for the sake of rallies, but some rallies do make sense in a way that they do really it is a real platform for people to voice out their concerns. Anyway, on the same issue regarding on Myanmar would be another news relating to Myanmar is currently outlawing journalists to report on the rebel groups, which is kind of sad because there's just so many I guess ethnic conflict happening all over Myanmar that during this Press Freedom Day we probably have no press freedom after all.
Right. You were just mentioning about the different rebel groups and fightings that's been happening in Myanmar. And of course, we also had the recent ASEAN People's Forum. And what was interesting about the People's Forum was that we had people from so many different countries in Southeast Asia actually coming forward and telling us that it's probably dangerous for me to do this, but I want you to know what's happening in my country. And it seems that Myanmar is going one step towards the extreme side and saying that no more reports about the rebel groups, and we don't want people to know about it. And that is definitely not the way to move forward if that is what they are going for.
It's really sad, but especially the statement was released on World Media Freedom Day. It stated that under the Section 17(1) of the Unlawful Association Act, anyone who assists the operations of a group deemed an unlawful association will face up to 3 years imprisonment. So they are in fact going back to the era where they were still the military, I won't say might, but the military jago kampung.
Right. And well, yes, but the thing about this, I think we can also relate it back to Malaysia, because we have a lot of cases happening now, a lot of incidents maybe where we have Twitter policing, where you can just tweet or have a Facebook status and you arrested and you go to jail. What about all the real crimes that are actually happening, like rape and theft and robbery? How come all these other crimes are not being addressed with the same seriousness as they do with press freedom or anything else?
Again, is I would say a dishonesty in terms of the way they lead Myanmar right now. In terms of their promise for democratic reforms, I don't think they are really serious with this, because with democratic reforms, it's not just about the election, it's not just about getting Aung San Suu Kyi to contest against them, but it's also about creating this different mechanism and institution in place. And of course, one of it will be an independent and free media space.
And without the press freedom, it's very difficult for the media themselves to report to the people what's going on. And if the people do not have a clear picture, it's not fair on their part as well, because they are the ones who will be voting and having a decision to make over there.
Anyway, we'll take one short break. When we return, we'll talk more about other countries such as Vietnam.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And of course, you're still with us on our ASEAN Daily. Enjoying the song and the music, I guess.
That's right. I take that. Very 90s, 80s.
Yeah, I know. So how deep is your love for me, Gowri?
Very deep, just like the song.
Well, actually, this is really not related to the news. But the news today is about Vietnam. So apparently South Korea target doubling of trade with the free trade agreement. Vietnam is signing a free trade agreement with South Korea that is expected to boost its export to the Korean market and more than doubling the bilateral trade over the next 5 years. This is stated by, of course, the Vietnamese government. So that's how deep their love is
towards each other. And South Korea also has a lot of love for Vietnam, considering the fact that they are actually the biggest investor in Vietnam, with pledges totaling up to $38 billion US, and they have come up with almost 4,200 projects to be invested in Vietnam this year alone.
And I would be wondering, like, wow, I didn't know about Korean being one of the biggest investors in Vietnam. But I mean, the thing about Vietnam is started to open up like a couple of years ago, and although it's a communist country, a major export of agriculture, seafood, textiles, and electronics, but apparently is forming relationship with other countries too. FTA with Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan is awaiting soon, and it could conclude talks on FTA with European Union next month.
And apart from that, they will also be almost finalizing their deal with the TPP with 12 other countries, which includes Japan, Australia, Canada, and the United States. And of course, like you were saying, Vietnam is starting to open up, and they have also a lot of regional rivals here. Well, they are surrounded by Cambodia, Myanmar, who are all sort of striving for investors to come in as well, even Thailand. And it's probably about time for them to step up their game and to attract more investors. And in this case, they have also managed to attract Microsoft, who will be shifting some operations to Vietnam from Thailand and China. So they have
too bad, Thailand and China. But you know, I think they are really looking at, Vietnam government is really looking at itself being the manufacturing hub for Southeast Asia or for the world, I think, since it's taking jobs from China and Thailand. And Vietnam is definitely an ideal, at least for now, an ideal place for manufacturing manufacturing industry because of the obvious reason, cheap labor. But of course, it's also because the government has imposed quite a number of economic reforms in terms of greater access, greater market access, lower tariffs, and a few other. And of course, they are building a lot of infrastructure and connectivity. So, in a way, Vietnam is definitely catching up, quite impressively, in fact.
And like you were saying, they are also looking at a lot of different sectors now. In terms of their exports, it's not just agriculture and seafood. They're also venturing more into electronics, and even in terms of their youth. I think I was reading something a few days back that they're also trying to get the youth in the country to step up the game and to be more skilled in English, so they can compete on a regional level and not just in Vietnam.
That's true. So I'm really happy with Vietnam, the fact that they are taking charge of their economy. Of course, they have been quite a while ago, but it seems like they are really looking at making Vietnam probably an upper middle income country or a middle income country. But on the other hand, to move forward towards a middle income country, a few things that you need to do, and one way is to not let developed country dump your shit. Sorry, dump their rubbish in your country. And of course, Aquino, the president of the Philippines, is quite angry with Canada because, they are dumping toxic waste or toxic trash to the Philippines. Is that how you do it?
Well, that's how Canada has been doing it. It seems that a lot of labor groups on Monday actually joined together. They even held a few rallies because Aquino will be visiting Canada, and they want him to give everything in this trip and make sure that he convinced Canada to take whatever rubbish that they have dumped. And this goes back to up to 2 years ago, so it's 2 years worth of garbage and trash and rubbish that's floating around in Manila, and it's about time for Canada to take it back. But what's interesting is when they approached the Canadian embassy, they said this is a private issue between you and the commercial company, and the Canadian embassy will actually not step in and do anything about it.
Of course, washing your hands. But, the problem is, why you even dump toxic waste in other country?
It's a good question.
Like, clean your own rubbish.
I think Canada is developed enough to have their own garbage disposal system, come up with their own incinerator. It doesn't make sense for them to actually sort of transport that to Manila. And
have you seen I guess in Malaysia, have you seen mountains made of garbage before?
I think so.
Or hills made of garbage?
I think
I think along the highway on the way, there's this one area where they dump all the garbage. It's definitely an unsightful scene, but the reality is, for developed countries, they need to realize that this is the reality that they need to address. They cannot just wash their hands just because they cannot deal with their own people on how to manage their waste.
Of course, and this also, of course, puts a certain strain between the relationship between the two countries. And we have all these labor groups that are coming up, all the different NGOs, sort of pushing Aquino to do something about this. And I mean, it's great that the Filipinos are actually being proactive in this issue, considering that it's an environmental issue, which could easily be overlooked, but they are actually very serious about this, and they want Aquino to talk to the Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, and make sure that all the containers full of trash worth of 2 years is all returned to him in Canada.
Yeah, definitely. Shame on you, Canada. I'm sorry, but you have to take out all your trash. Anyway, we will take one short break. When we return, we will talk about, of course, ASEAN news.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And of course, you are with us again on our ASEAN Daily. So, talking about ASEAN news. So, ASEAN Economic Community apparently needs higher transparency. I think these are things that we don't really talk about when we talk about AEC. We just talk about the money.
That's right. And we talk about the economic benefits, the political security, and also the social cultural part. But I guess we missed out on how transparent they are. And I think in this context, it's also more about delivering the information, considering that most of the talks are held behind closed doors among certain top officials. And are these information actually being delivered out to the masses in its entirety? And I think that's where the whole issue about transparency is being questioned as well.
So apparently, in a statement during the ASEAN summit, that ASEAN leaders welcomed the full implementation to date of 458 measures of the AEC scorecard targeted for ASEAN-wide implementation over the period of 5 years, which was 2008 to this year, 2015. But it further mentioned that the economic minister have been commanded for identification of pending priorities, but these are areas related to fulfilling the key deliveries of high trade impact. But how can they fulfill all this or fulfill the prioritized key deliveries when ASEAN itself lack transparency? Or it is difficult to make for observer to validate the 90% plus achievement rate of AEC targets. I totally, agree that hands down.
And also there are a lot of initiatives, and also when we attend forums or press conferences, it has been said that most of the plans and the blueprints has been carried out or has been successful, but maybe we do not really see like a solid evidence or the numbers, the exact numbers or statistics that these plans have actually taken off and they are actually benefiting the people. Of course, like people always say, that it's easier said than done. And going back to the impact as well, when it comes to the resources or economic activities, and all this will definitely take some time to materialize and before people can actually gain some benefit from it. Like we were also discussing about skilled labor, about goods and services. So how exactly do all these benefit the people, and will we get to see
even businesses?
The exact,
they are also complaining that how would it benefit them, because a lot of the measures are still very much not in place yet in terms of the AAC scorecard. And I think the biggest hurdle would be the ASEAN structure itself. It's still very much an intergovernmental organization without a supra-national institution. So a lot of the dealings are closed doors, as what we witnessed at the ASEAN Summit. And a lot of the dealings are not transparent enough for people or even businesses to make an informed decision about ASEAN.
And what about certain countries like probably the CLMV countries? Of course, if we talk about countries like Singapore, their whole understanding or idea of the ASEAN integration will probably be different from the countries up in the north. And how exactly are they going to find that certain key areas that they can all...
So you know what, Gowri? This is a job that they should figure out before the next summit.
That is true.
Which is in November.
It's already May, and we are supposed to have... of course, AEC is not just sort of like a destination that you just reach and everything is settled, all the tariff barriers and all. But the fact is that next year will be January 2016 and people will start expecting to see some differences. So we would also want the ASEAN integration and the AEC to be more transparent and probably be more open in their discussions.
That's true. So anyway, we are at the end of our session today. You can catch us live tomorrow again on our ASEAN Daily. But later on, please listen to our show on the Durian Heat, where we discuss about refugees and investment. That's all from me, Arlene.
And this is Gowri.
Thank you.